We're going to prove to you that we're the best.
Greetings and welcome everyone to this week's postseason edition of Talking 215. To my right, I have my main man, your host with the most, Jake.
Sean,
What up, Jake, man? How you feeling?
you know what? I'm feeling pretty good after this wild card weekend. There was a lot of very close games.
There was a lot of teams that looked incredibly beatable.
Yeah. And so, look, you never want to think, oh, that wouldn't have been us. It very well could have. I mean, the Bengals and the Bills are powerhouse teams, and they looked very bad.
I tell you what, man, it seemed like the Bills were trying to lose.
It was very strange. If
They
it
were
wasn't for
trying.
awful head coaching at the end of that fourth quarter, they very well may have.
I tell you who wasn't hoping they lost was Tony Romo.
Yeah.
That
Man.
was some of the most biased announcing I've ever heard.
What was
And
worse, Tony Romo's announcing there, or just the complete lack of energy out of Dungy and Al Michaels?
How much energy are you expecting from Tony Dungy and Al Michaels?
I mean, it was for the game, and they're just like, and it's good.
You know what? Throughout the rest of the weekend, though, I was impressed with the enthusiasm. It seemed like whatever meetings some of these guys had, they were to really boost the game, to really let their voices be heard. That was the one that was just a total dud.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
It was real bad, but it just shows this whole weekend of play that bye is so important. I mean, we were talking about, look, injury list came out today. Jalen Hurts isn't on it.
Hurts isn't on it.
And he would have been on it if we played yesterday, day before, whatever, like this past weekend.
Yeah.
He would have been on it. He would have been feeling great. The fact that he's not on it, look, I listened to his live press conference. He didn't really give up anything. Not that we really thought he would, but he was asked a lot of questions. Hey, the last time you're out there, it was obvious that they were forcing you to be very limited. If it was required for you to really go out there and win the game with your legs or do everything you've done all season, are you going to be able to do it? And he answered, I don't know. You don't love the answer, thinking at face value like that doesn't sound great.
Right.
But then if you really think about it, there's no way. Like, of course he's just gonna. Of course he can. Like, if he needs to, he can.
So that's him saying it as far as how he's feeling. He's sitting talking to the press.
I don't even think that. I think he's just like, I don't want to give anything up. I think it's
Okay.
I think he knew.
You think it was
that,
coached?
yes, I can. I think he knows. Yes, I can go out there and give it my all. I can go out there and do anything that's needed of me. I think it was somewhat coached of just say like, hey, if they ask you or when they ask you about your injuries, just play real dumb. What shoulder?
Yeah, if anybody was the head coach of this team other than Nick Sirianni, I would probably be arguing with you. I think for the most part, players are pretty straightforward, but I think there's definitely something to that. Nick seems to keep everything very tight to the chest.
Yeah, I mean, he said I feel all right, so that's good. Feel all right.
All right. So a big question throughout the fan base: how worried are you that we are playing the New York Football Giants? Give me a scale from 0 to 10, with 0 being you haven't even given the team a thought, and 10 being full-blown panic attack.
You know what? Give me about a 3.
Okay.
Give me about a 3,
Okay.
and it could very well go down to a 2 after one drive. The 3 is more on our end than anything else. The worry about the team, that would be a generic. It's going to be automatically. It's like the home field advantage. You're given 3.
Mm-hmm.
This team has given me 3 right now. The Eagles, just because they've come out flat the past 3 weeks. I guess now it's 4 weeks with the bye. They came out strong in the bye. I'll say that.
They did a fantastic job during the bye.
Hey, AJ Brown bowling a big old strike with his game check online. Although he never took the bet. So it's like all the things like, oh, you bet his game check. No, he didn't. He was like, oh, you bet your game check. He was like, watch.
Wasn't a
that
was for shit.
Oh, yes. No, of course. But no, the 3 is way more on the Eagles.
Yeah,
the Giants don't necessarily scare me.
I'm catching a whole lot of 5, 6, 7s, what seems like on social media.
Yeah, and I get that. Look, I certainly think, and I was very adamant that I thought the Vikings were frauds.
Mm-hmm.
But you win a playoff game against a 13-win team. Like, you're not a bad team. And they're Brian Daboll's a good head coach. He's obviously going to be in the head coach of the year conversation, taking a team that it averages 4 wins a season to the playoffs and now to a divisional round. That's impressive. Saquon Barkley looked great out there. I was watching the first half of all 22 today. Still need to go and really diagnose the second half. But I was watching that game. They were doing a lot of good things.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, they did a good job of, well, really, what I thought was a very Philadelphia Eagles esque offensive game plan.
Mhm.
Right, the way they were using Daniel Jones,
Yeah, a lot of RPOs.
it felt like I saw, a fledgling Jalen Hurts out there.
Yeah, and now I was watching, they had this one specific RPO that they ran twice in the first 3 drives where they have somebody coming across the backfield pre-snap, and then right at the snap, Saquon Barkley was always to his right. He comes and it was like a, "Hey, am I gonna hand this off to you or am I gonna run myself?" But what's interesting was they ran the same side. He used Saquon Barkley as a blocker both times. And so it was interesting. It worked successfully for them, but typically you see that like they follow the running back and then you pull it and go the opposite direction and they're caught. But it was interesting that they had the handoff the option, and both times Daniel Jones kept it in this first half, and he ran behind Saquon Barkley.
And it worked for him.
Yeah. It was just a little interesting wrinkle that I saw watching the tape, that if you see that pre-snap motion and then quickly see Saquon Barkley coming from right to left for a handoff, be looking for Daniel Jones to hold that. I'm sure they're on it way more than I am.
I have a good feeling they saw that too.
Yeah, Jonathan, if you're listening, just keep an eye out. We're breaking this down from a fundamental standpoint here. Something else interesting I really saw watching that was they seemed to struggle more in the passing game when the Vikings were in zone, which is a little bit encouraging for our team, seeing as though we seem to only run zone.
They will be seeing more of that come this Saturday.
So I guess that was a little bit encouraging. Some of the 2 sacks that I saw were both in zone coverage, and they were coverage sacks. He had a decent pocket. He had over 3 seconds, and he wasn't able to find anybody, and he wasn't able to escape, and they got to him. I don't think that he will consistently have over 3 seconds with this defensive line. And both those sacks were not on the blitz that I saw. They were just the standard 4-man rush.
Sure.
So I feel pretty confident in the fact that we have run zone a crap ton. We are, by all accounts, the best pass defense team in the NFL. We give up less than 180 passing yards a game. And although we want to bitch and moan about Jonathan Gannon, his inability to blitz, his soft zone, where he's given up some weak first downs and all, 177 passing yards per game, 3rd most sacks in NFL history, most in Eagles franchise history, with, like, we'll all say it, like, not a whole lot of blitzing. It's got to bode well, especially against a running quarterback who is QB9 primarily because of his legs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you're taking a look at some of these running quarterbacks, of course, you want to opt for the zone coverage. So that way your back is in turn running downfield man to man. Right. So, if that takes any precedence, if you look at what we've done over the course of the season, expect a lot of zone. Expect a lot of zone, but also expect a hell of a much better pass rush than that Vikings defense.
No, exactly. And they were a little bit susceptible when they did blitz to a corner blitz. They were doing a pretty good job picking up the blitzing up the middle. So I don't know what they're going to dial up with Josiah Scott and CJ Gardner-Johnson being out there, because you're not blitzing Slay or Bradbury.
Right. We're going to be missing Maddox for a multitude of reasons, and that's certainly one of them, his ability to blitz.
Yeah, and speaking of Maddox, we're going to talk with Doc either later tonight or tomorrow. We're going to have him on just for a specific injury update. Sirianni was asked about Maddox today. He balked at the question. He's like, I don't know.
Have we even heard what's wrong with it?
He has turf toe.
But has that been confirmed?
No.
But
that's what he's got.
He hurt his toe.
Yeah, he has a significant toe injury.
Bad.
A significant
what the
toe
hell is
injury.
a significant? I guess. I mean,
It's
you're
a
right.
turf-
You're
a
right.
significant toe injury,
That's the
turf toe.
only significant toe injury one can have. But it just sounds ridiculous.
No shot of him playing this week. I'll stand behind that. They're listing him
Not
as a
next
did
week.
not practice, as an unknown for Saturday. No shot. Like, don't expect him to play. You follow anybody that's saying he's day to day. Somebody reported 2 weeks ago, oh, Sirianni said he's day to day. No, he didn't.
Well, day to day. Technically,
he's taking it day by day. He's not on IR.
You stretch out enough days, and eventually you get to a day where he's ready to play. I guess.
Hey, what do you say? Rolling the Anyway, somebody that did practice at a limited basis this week, Lane Johnson. And watching this few clips of him, he looked all right. He looked explosive.
Yeah, I mean,
Didn't seem to be hampering after the snap, holding his leg, nothing like that.
Moving from one player that you have very little confidence is going to be playing at all in this postseason to somebody that it seems like really everybody is operating with the understanding that Lane is going to be perfectly fine and ready to go come Saturday.
I don't know about that. I don't know about perfectly fine. A partially torn adductor is not something that
I understand. Just that feels like the general consensus that I've been hearing. He was a limited participant in practice today. That's really all we've had to go off of.
Yeah.
Was it his first day back at
No, he
practice?
practiced pads off last week.
Okay.
Took some reps. And he looked all right. But talking with Doc, I talked with him when I was on vacation.
Okay.
And I have some clips to put out there, and we're going to talk to him again, like I said,
Of your
either tonight or
vacation?
tomorrow. Yes. And I asked him, I said, look, is there any chance that he can come out of this game the same as he went in? And we both kind of discussed it, and we're like, no, it's probably going to make it worse no matter what. Like,
Sure.
it's obviously not going to get better, and there's really the only shot of anything is it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to come out of this with it being the same. It's only going to get worse, and hopefully the time that it takes between the divisional round and the championship round is enough to get him back to feeling all right to play. Yeah. But there is kind of a sentiment in some people that, like, do you just run out Jack Driscoll and give him one more week to have him being that much closer to 100% come the NFC Championship? I think you go out there and let him play.
I think you ask Lane.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what it has to come down to. Do you think if you plant on your foot and if
for
you're
70
facing,
snaps,
right, you're going to get beaten, battered, the edge rusher is going to try to beat the hell out of you.
You already know they have one of the dirtiest defensive linemen in the NFL in Kayvon Thibodeau.
Clearly.
You already know they have him out there, and he's got that marked. He's going to be taking shots at his leg.
Yeah, you can't risk not making it this game if you think that his performance is going to be better than Jack Driscoll.
You take it one game at a time. No, that's my thought. You take it one game at a time. But certainly, if you go into like a week, what we playing? Week 14, week 15, whenever we saw him the first time in the regular season, you have a game like that, pull him in the second half.
Oh, for sure.
Don't leave him out there. Just you pull him right away if you have the opportunity to get Lane Johnson out of there with an easy win.
Resting your starters in a playoff game.
Oh man, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Look, speaking of resting starters, Kenny Galladay's not even one of their starting wide receivers anymore.
No, he's not. Hopefully he does not continue to have Darius Slay's number.
No, and he won't. He's not going to be out there all that often. And look, he had a great catch in week 18.
Yeah, he's going to get 4 snaps and 0 catches.
4 snaps.
4 snaps.
That's you.
Is that over under 4.5 snaps? Kenny Galladay.
Probably over.
I haven't actually seen his snap counts. It feels like he's never out there.
Probably over. But it was really good coverage by Slay. It just happened to be an even better catch by Galladay, and I don't expect that to happen in the postseason. But again, you can't take any game lightly, and I don't think this team or this coaching staff is. Jalen Hurts seemed to repeat everything he says before every game of, this is a good team. They do a lot of things really well. Like, we can't take them lightly. We take it. We're not looking ahead. He says all the right things. The last couple of weeks of the season, it seems like they certainly did take a couple teams lightly.
They had the playoffs locked up.
I would like to think that they're going to take this one game at a time and truly come out with a good game plan.
I think just that with the crowd that's going to be going nuts. I mean, you got almost 80,000 fans in the stand cheering their asses off. I don't think they're going to have a choice. I think that kind of natural adrenaline, just dump that you're going to get walking out into the link is going to carry them to where it's going to be impossible to take this game lightly.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about, Philadelphia. Sean, has there been a ton of games this season watching them? You were at one game, but watching them on TV or even the game that you were at where you thought, man, this fan base is taking over this stadium?
Not like in years past.
No. It's been weak.
Thankfully, there's nowhere to travel. You just have to worry about getting to the damn stadium. But we certainly haven't been taking over games the way that this fan base that we all like to gush over. And I mean, we're a part of. So obviously we want it to be one of the greatest, home field advantages. We haven't really seen it this season, especially considering how good this team is.
Yeah. We were at game 3 of the World Series. That stadium was literally shaking.
Do you think that this town was a little hungover from playing baseball so late into the year?
They damn well better not be.
But do you think that's the case?
I don't know, man. It's been kind of embarrassing.
I don't know if embarrassing is the best word for it.
We take over stadiums. We took over the Rams Stadium in LA. Like we can't even dominate our own stadium. Can you think of the last time there was a delay game or false start because they couldn't hear the snap counts?
No, not one. Maybe the first night game of the season.
Maybe. But it's like you need that week in and week out. You hear Bedlam at the bank. I need Loco at the link.
Loco at the link. Write that down, ladies and gentlemen.
Do it. Write it down. But Philadelphia, I'm talking to you. You get there. It's a night game. You can be drunk for 14 hours that day and still have had your breakfast beer.
And they will be.
Good.
They will be.
Go ahead.
Slots open up at 1 p.m., guys.
Get there early, pregame, have a designated driver. I need you to be insane. I need you, don't go fighting opposing fans or anything, but make it hell for the players on the field. Make it hell for them that he is standing there. I can't hear, coach. They are missing. They are missing cues. They're misfiring left and right, false starts, delay of games, calling timeouts. A timeout is obviously, especially watching this wildcard game, is critical.
Seriously.
You lose your timeout or use it in the wrong time, you're fucked. I need you to cost them 2 timeouts in the first quarter.
Ooh. Yeah, we have not seen that at all.
No.
Not once.
No, and this is playoff football in Philadelphia with the #1 seed that's already being overlooked. We're the 4th best odds to win the Super Bowl right now.
As a #1 seed.
As a #1 seed.
Because we didn't play. But the reason why we didn't play is because we're a damn good football team.
Yes.
Yeah. You're right. That's an interesting point that I haven't even so much as thought of. Our home field advantage has been probably weaker this year than most other years in the past.
Now, and we were at the 2017 game. No, the exact same situation. #1 seed, underdog. Yeah, I remember it being pretty damn loud that game.
I remember it being pretty damn loud. I would also expect it to be pretty damn loud this weekend.
It better be, man.
Dude, it's an 8 o'clock game on a Saturday.
There's no excuses.
City needs to be down by.
There's no excuses.
Yeah, just flood in the stadium.
You have to. What are you doing? What are you doing Sunday? You're watching football.
Right. Yeah.
You're watching it hungover.
A victory Sunday where you get to hang out and watch some damn playoff football.
Yeah, figure out who you might be seeing in the Super Bowl.
Right.
They need to step up, though.
They need to step up. It's going to be okay weather, right? Kickoff, it's supposed to be about 38 degrees, a little windy. So we'll see. We'll pay attention to that as it draws a little bit closer to kickoff, but it's not a.
It was colder and windier in 2017.
It definitely was colder and windier in 17. It's chilly, but it's January. It's not exceptionally cold.
And if the wind dies down, and it may, especially when you're in a stadium like that, you don't feel it as windy as when you're just out in the open. I'll take my dog out in the middle of the night and it's 29 degrees. There's no wind. It doesn't feel that bad.
It feels good if there's no wind.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you're out there and it's not super windy, I need you crazy. If it is super windy, I need you crazy.
Right.
This is on us, Philadelphia.
The colder it is, listen, you just got to have an extra drink or two to warm yourself up.
Have to.
Yeah.
Why not? Drinks on us.
No, they're not. No, that's not in the budget.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But that's the game plan for Philadelphia fans. Take over our own stadium. Make it absolute hell. Don't go selling your tickets on the secondary market. Sell them to another Eagles fan.
There better be so little blue and red in that damn stadium.
And how could there not be? We had access to buy our tickets last week. The only chance they have is they open up a few for the opposing team, right?
Well, how it gets done is Philadelphia fans sell their tickets.
That's the only way that they're going to get in there.
Yeah.
And if you have tickets and you can't go, sell it to a friend of yours for the same price.
Right, guys. You
go
can
on,
make a couple
go
bucks.
Facebook. You know how many pages there are of Eagles ticket pages?
You buy it for $300. You sell it for $400.
Yeah, don't go
sell it for.
Don't go sitting there trying
$800.
to make your nut on tickets just so that a Giants fan can get in the stadium.
Right. Listen, because we could have done the same thing with those World Series tickets.
Oh yeah. We had them way early, and their prices were through the roof.
Guys, the experience is worth so much more. And in addition
to that, the tailgate was great, but once we walked into that stadium,
electric. Wouldn't trade it for the world. It was worth 5 times as much as those resale values.
It was incredible.
I don't miss it one bit. Well, I don't miss not making that money one bit.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So Philadelphia, for the 19th time, this is on you. Take over that stadium. Make it hell for the Giants. Like I said, I want 2 timeouts wasted in the first quarter from the Giants.
I would love it. I'd love it. I'd be standing up, yelling at my television
every third down, and third down especially. Like, be loud the entire game, but if it's third down, I don't care what it is, because 3rd and 1, they're lined up in QB sneak. False start still is 5 yards.
Yeah. No, I was watching some highlights on Twitter that was going around of how loud it was in those early 2000s days whenever the playoffs came around, and you could just hear it through the broadcast how brutal it was. You could hear the sound systems have to alter and change where the sound was coming from just to dampen the overall just how overwhelming that noise was.
Yeah. They're cupping their mics like they're trying to light a cigarette in the wind.
You could hear them trying to move to a camera that wasn't totally dominated by crowd noise.
Yeah.
I
need that.
We need it.
Loco at the link, baby.
Let's do it.
Get Loco at the link. Game plan. Heading into this week. You got to assume just look at week 15 and emulate that.
You got to imagine. I mean,
they're going to make some changes.
Of course. I mean, the Giants are going to be getting back a couple key players that they didn't have.
Yes.
They have Dory Jackson's back, Xavier McKinney. So that secondary is certainly stronger than the last time.
Of course.
We played them seriously. But I think,
excuse me.
Yeah, we really have to see your prototypical Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, just not holding anything back. We cannot come out of this game saying, okay, well, Jalen was afraid to run because of his shoulder. Yeah. Right. We can't say they were trying to emphasize one thing because they couldn't do another. This Giants team just needs to be overwhelmed.
Yes.
We need to do a good job of running the ball, whether it be Hurts, whether it be Booby, whether it be the giant killer himself.
Oh, baby.
Coming back for round 3.
Oh, baby. Plus 360 anytime touchdown score, plus 4,000 2-time touchdown score.
I'd be inclined to take that 1 touchdown score. I don't know about 2. But, there's got to be a great variation in ways that we're attacking this Giants defense. I would look for a big day out of Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I need him to have his big day on his return. He's definitely fully healthy now.
He's fully healthy now. Finished the year with about, 705 receivers?
Yeah, just under those 800.
So...
I mean, a little more than just under, but
you're going to have
would have had him if he wasn't injured.
Donate to my charity.
Yes.
So I totally forgot what the exact yardage was.
I think it was 800.
I wasn't sure if it was 750, if it was
either way, it was under, only because of the damn injury.
So I'll accept your donation on the behalf of the Papa Bear Rogers Foundation, serving underprivileged youth in Southern Delaware.
Perfect.
So he needs to get back on track, though. It's been a very long time. He's been healthy these last 2 games of the season.
Yeah, but he only had 1 game with Jalen. In that game,
we saw
they weren't doing anything because they realized, hey, this Giants team can beat the Vikings. We not only do we not want to show any team anything in the postseason, but we especially don't want to show the team that we very well could be playing in the postseason a damn thing.
I'm not saying we should have fed Dallas Goedert. I'm saying that I'm looking forward to seeing him be part of the central part of this game plan. Yes. When he went down, everybody talked about how the offense ran through him.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like that was a very long time ago.
Mm-hmm. It was. But again, the full offense hasn't been healthy since he went down.
Sure. That was kind of like the unraveling, if you will.
Yeah.
For a team that finished, I don't know, what were we in the last 6-7 weeks?
3-3.
3-3.
3-2.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, this Giants team finished 2-5-1.
Yep.
To end the season.
Yes, they did.
And they went out and they handled business against the Vikings. So I'm a little confused as to why a lot of these Eagles fans don't seem to think that we can do the exact same thing.
Yeah. The Vikings were frauds. They were negative point differential. They did a few things well, and that's about it. Like they won most of the games at the very end. Low scoring, 1 possession games. That's why when they won small. When they lost big.
Right. I mean, what was it, 8 games they had where they won by 3 points or fewer?
Yeah. One thing I really want to see us do is, like you said, a very balanced attack. I mean, the game that we absolutely dominated them, Hurts still passed the ball 31 times. Like, that's still a pretty good amount of passing, but we averaged when you take our top our rushers, which was just Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, and Boston Scott, we averaged like 7.5 yards per carry.
Listen, as much as I want this team to control the clock, control the time of possession, to run the ball down this team's throat, and I believe we can, I don't see it happening.
Why is that?
This coaching staff is going to throw the ball. They're going to win by throwing the ball. They're going to force their will by moving the ball. It doesn't have to be a splash play. It's going to be a long, controlled drive, but it's going to be passing the vast majority of the time. This coaching staff just doesn't seem, even when this team gets on a roll. There's only been maybe 2 games. I mean, that Packers game really sticks out, but there was more often than not, this team was not willing to commit to running the football for 4 quarters.
Yeah, and it's a shame. I mean, well, like you said, that Packers game was one thing, but and then the Titans, they realized that they could pass it very heavily, and they did, but there hasn't been a game where they're like, hey, we can run really well. Let's just do that.
Right.
They could have avoided all injuries and still gotten the W against the Bears, and they chose not to. So I understand why would you really be confident they're going to do it this game. I'm not. I just think if they do, it'll be successul.
I think it'll make
his
sense.
Longest rush of the season, Miles Sanders' longest rush of the season, 40 yards, was against the Giants in week 14. He had 17 carries for 144 yards. The leading receiver in that game had only 70 yards. That was AJ Brown. I think I just had it 10 different receivers or 10 different players caught passes in that game. 1, 2, 3. 9 different players caught passes in that game. So you spread the wealth around. You can win in so many different ways.
And I think that needs to be the exact blueprint. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I think this coaching staff is going to want to outsmart themselves in it, that they're going to take a proven method of winning over this exact team, and they're going to try to do something super duper sexy. And it's not going to bite them in the ass, but I think we could dominate this game much like that week 14 matchup.
Which would be nice, but unfortunately I have the same kind of sentiment as you, that they're going to try to do too much. Just stick with what works. Dance with who brung you.
Yep.
And they're going to try and dance with everybody out on the floor.
So aside from what kind of a game plan you want them to run, what kind of game plan do you expect to see?
I expect us to be asking pretty early on in the game, like, these were the scripted plays you came up with? Like, this is how you wanted to get this game started, and just scratching our heads, or they're really trying to force it, or it works. Like, and they're able to make the catches and all. But I could see it just being very pass heavy, trying to get the game started with a bang, get the postseason started in Philadelphia with a big splash play.
Deep to Devontae Smith.
I'd love it if he catches it. Like, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be one play where they don't get the first down or something like that. And then you're like, okay, 3 and out, or first down and then a punt, where they do try to, like, it's 3rd and short, and they go for a 40-yard pass rather than just to get the first down. And we're like, we couldn't just get the momentum rolling, like get a little bit of a rhythm going first to get the game started. I see him just having a hard time getting that rhythm going, not only because they had the bye, because everybody's slowly getting healthy again, but because they are going to be a little greedy, and they're going to want to be like, let's take over this game right away, right now, go down 4 plays, score a touchdown, let's go.
A little too excited, you think?
A little too excited.
Okay.
A little too amped up. It was maybe a little Gene Segura-esque.
Yeah. he means well, guys. Nick Sirianni, he's just kind of jumping around. He wants this so bad.
Yeah, he does. He's gripping that bat a little tight.
Yeah,
a little tight. Reminds me of Rookie of the Year. He's just saying, like sandpaper, just making sawdust, squeezing that bat a little too tight.
No, you're right. I fully expect to see them probably trying to test the Giants secondary deep.
And look, it could work out. It could. I just think why would you do that when you just get a good rhythm going at first? I would like the shorter passes. I think one of the key matchups that I've written down. Screen. They always work. Yes. I just think this Vikings defense has been really aggressive, at least their front 4. I mean, last week, looking at them playing the Giants, they had 21 pressures from their front 4. The Vikings? No, the Giants did against the Vikings. Yes. So, just Dexter Lawrence is back. He wasn't playing when we played in week 14. Week 14, no, that's another key player. Oh, guys, this Giants team was pretty damn depleted compared to what they're coming in today. They are healthy. Yeah.
They're healthy.
Saquon didn't play either, did he? Week 14.
He had a neck issue. I believe he played through, but
played-
wasn't much of a factor.
Okay, yeah. Yep, he had 9 attempts for 3.1 yards per carry.
There we go. So we bottom up last time. But I really I would like the quick passing game.
Yeah, especially like you saw them do a ton of zero blitzing in week 18, which again we all discussed. They had no intentions of trying to win that game.
We won't see a zero blitz whatsoever this weekend.
No, not at all. They're going to have us thinking they're going to see it. They're going to rush up all to the line, then back out, drop into coverage. But I tweeted about it earlier today. Like, this offensive line is paramount into our success.
Of course.
I mean, you can say that with every team. That's a very generic statement, but we can truly dominate this game if our offensive line has a good game.
We have to give our offensive line a good reason to dominate this game. Is it me, or does it feel like we've been able to successfully run block really well?
Yes.
But pass blocking seems to be an issue, particularly at the tackle level.
Yeah, Mylotta's had a pretty bad pass block game. He's had a very good run block game. I believe he's third in run block win percentage. But he's had a pretty rough season.
He's been the one to kind of pick on, especially in pass protection. And of course, with Lane out, Driscoll hasn't been exactly. He hasn't been a turnstile, but he hasn't been.
No, he hasn't been good.
Solid.
He hasn't been great. No, and I need him to just use his 6'8", 375 just to throw somebody.
I need him attacking whoever
just
he's
throw
set
somebody.
out to block.
Knock him back, and then if they get around you, it's still another 3/10 or 7/10 of a second, 3/4 of a second that you knocked them back, that they have to get their feet and get going again. So even if they get around you, hopefully the ball will be out by then. Just absolutely slam them.
Because that defensive lineman is starting over at 0 miles per hour at no momentum.
Give him the old Samoan smack right at the point of contact.
Yep. As soon as that ball is hiked.
We have Clete Blakeman as the official, 13-1 in games with him and his crew. The Eagles are.
You remember what that one was?
I don't.
I don't either. I was really hoping that you did.
Oh, shoot.
It's a significant game. I just forget which one it is. I'm sure Twitter will tell us. Guys, as you're reading this, go ahead over to Twitter right now and tell us what that Clete Blakeman call was.
Yes, especially if you're listening to this, not reading this.
Yes. Oh, shit.
All right. So what's a matchup that actually kind of scares you other than pass blocking offensive line?
I don't know if there's one matchup that particularly scares me.
Yeah, I mean the best player on their offense got to be Saquon.
It is Saquon.
And so like that's a matchup that doesn't necessarily scare me, but Kaiser White hasn't been good for a while. TJ Edwards has been good, but he's missed a couple tackles that you normally see him make. Avonte Maddox was actually a pretty big player, even in the run game.
I think
protection in that middle of the field.
A lot of sentiment I've heard over and over about how some of these running quarterbacks have given the Eagles a hard time. Throughout the season, I haven't really seen it.
No, they run, and you look at the stats, like these are probably just scoreboard watchers. They're not even like stat watchers.
Right.
They're just like, oh, well, they had a great game rushing.
Yeah.
But look at the score.
Justin Fields, I don't know what his stat line was.
He rushed great.
He had 90 yards of receiving or rushing, but if you looked and watched at the game, there hasn't been a single quarterback this year that has really given this team fits running the ball.
No.
I don't know. I think this Eagles team matches up incredibly well. I mean, you've got Hodgins, the wideout that kind of came from nowhere to have a couple good games against the Vikings, but that's just it. He's had 2 good games, and they've both been against the Vikings. So I don't think there's enough talent on this wide receiving core.
No. This is where I need big play to step up.
Just once. Once.
He's had a phenomenal start to the season. And then wasn't bad, but just wasn't great. He was just there.
He was certainly there.
He made a couple plays.
There was too many injuries to the secondary. You can take those risks
you can
and be aggressive.
Cover your receivers.
You certainly can. I mean, has there been a receiver that's torched him? I mean, last year he had those couple games. Where he got smoked all game, and he's given up a play or two here and there. We talked about the Galladay touchdown that was really just an excellent throw, a fantastic catch. And you're going to get those from time to time. But if that happened 2 or 3 times throughout the entire season, I wouldn't call it I would still call that an excellent season. You just didn't have CJ Garner-Johnson back there, or if you did, you just didn't have the same level of trust in who you were playing with. I think having this full secondary back, sans Avonte Maddox, is going to help out.
I've seen a lot of first downs given up on 3rd and longs or anything that was on his guy, and that I need him to do a little better. Like, if they give you the opportunity to be man on man with somebody, you dominate him like you dominated Justin Jefferson. Like, you have that capability and the ability out there. But like, I talked to somebody and they said, like, I wouldn't be surprised if after the year it comes out like, oh, Darius Slay has to get a surgery. Like, he's like something tampered,
like a nagging injury throughout the year.
But typically, like, that happens. I know Alshon Jeffrey had one that nobody knew about, and he had the rotator cuff.
Rotator cuff.
Yeah, and so, like, but typically they have to report these things. But you have kind of seen that drop off where he dominated players, and now he's not getting dominated by any means. But it's just like, that's a play that I normally see you make.
Yeah, he hasn't really had the same.
That's a receiver that normally doesn't beat you
on some of these balls. He certainly hasn't made a splash play.
No,
I mean, if you're hoping for him to get an interception, yes, the one would be incredibly welcome.
What was it? The second game that we played the Commanders, what was it? Terry McLaurin kind of feasted off of him, if I remember correctly.
Terry tore his ass up the year prior, though. I think just certain wideouts just have corners.
Yeah. I mean, he went 8 catches for 128 yards that game, and obviously they weren't all on Slay.
Yeah.
But I just remember a number of times being like, Slay, that's your guy.
That was his worst performance, or at least
and that seemed to be like the flip in the season where he hasn't had a great game since then.
Right.
He's had fine games. He hasn't had a great game since then. And then Bradbury, all pro, he's done better, but he's definitely had, like, our secondary was elite in the first half of the season, and they've been very good in the second half.
Yes, but we're not talking about James Bradbury, the absolute lockdown, shutdown corner, the same way we were the first half of the season.
No, because that's what he was.
He was averaging wide receivers against him were averaging like 40 yards a game,
if that.
Right.
I think it's under that.
28 or something like that at one point in the season. It was stupid. And you haven't really seen that. But again, there's been injuries in the secondary. Teams just getting smarter throughout the rest of the season. We're going to see, man. It's playoff times. It's playoff.
We should dominate them. Even with Maddox not being out there and everything, like we've touched on, their wide receiver core is not good.
No. Is there any unit that really gives you cause for concern?
Their defensive line is good against our pass blocking offensive line.
That's the one. If there's anything,
if Jalen Hurts is anything close to 100%, it's like he'll just beat you with his legs.
If Lane Johnson anything close to 100% and isn't terribly hampered when it comes to actually suiting up and playing, again, this is our offensive line as a unit that I expect to have a good game against. Even they
need
vaunted.
to, and obviously everybody has the most faith in the world in Jeff Stoutland and his ability to prepare this line for.
They haven't been absolutely locked down though.
No.
Like
I said, and after that Eagles game, the Week 18 Eagles Giants game, I was like, look, the one thing that you still can do, even if you're keeping a very vanilla playbook and everything, you can still have good offensive line play, and they didn't. Right. They had 0 blitzes all game long, and when you have more people running at you than you have to stop them, it's gonna make it look worse. But they had a number of plays where they just didn't look great. And so this is a game where I need them to dominate, to get back to being a unit that has all their starters are either Pro Bowlers or Pro Bowl alternates.
Well, we need to run the ball early, often, set the tone.
Yeah, I mean, you heard when Mailata was on with us, he was like, oh, everybody loves run blocking way more than pass blocking.
Yeah.
You get to go and you get to initiate the contact.
I get to meet you head on, baby. Yeah. Let's do it. Show this team, show this fan base how good of a running team you are, because I swear we are a solid running team that just does not commit to this run game.
Now, and last thing on the offensive line and them getting pressure and everything, the main cause of concern with that is our running backs suck at chipping on the line or giving any kind of added protection. I mean, we saw Miles Sanders multiple times just completely whiff on a guy that didn't even make a move on him. He just went to hit him and like closed his eyes or something and
business
just completely missed him.
Yeah.
So if they are getting pressure, and we do need to give added protection over the left side or the right side, if Lane Johnson isn't 100% or has to be taken out for any kind of reason, I need them to at least get him off his spot. Make him run around.
Throw a tight end on that side of the formation.
Yeah. Bring Jack Stoll in. Don't keep Goddard in there as a primary pass blocker. Maybe a block in release for that tight end screen we talked about.
Right.
But we need something. And again, the main concern for me is special teams for the Eagles.
We've been saying on this podcast each and every week that one of these games is going to make us pay, and I hope it's not this week.
Brett Kearns sucks. He might be worse than Aaron Sippis, and that's saying something.
There's a reason why he was sitting on his couch when Sippis went down.
There's got to be people that can kick better than these guys.
That is such a conundrum for me. I mean, you look at that Cowboys game, 4 missed extra points. Like, what can possibly be so hard about kicking the football?
I kicked. It's not that difficult. I couldn't kick very far, but I could make 40 inside of 40 yards pretty consistently.
I practiced,
again, not NFL field.
I practiced once or twice after practice trying to kick. I don't remember it being something that I felt, if you didn't practice at it.
I'm not saying I could make an extra point during an NFL game.
I think you just said that.
All right,
actually, I think you just said you could make a 40-yarder.
I could make a 40-yarder.
Okay.
We'll head out to a field when it
warms up a little bit. We're gonna find out.
We'll head out there.
You better lace up those boots.
You know what? I'll kick one left foot and right foot.
Ooh.
Yeah, ambidextrous kicker. Whereas the one athletics pitcher that could pitch with either hand, as the news reported, first amphibious pitcher. An amphibious kicker. Kick underwater.
I hate when my pitchers start underwater and they end up on land.
Over under for you.
Okay.
Ineligible man downfield.
Oh my God.
1.5.
Over. There's no reason that I believe that this team will not get.
I couldn't do 0.5.
No. The refereeing, the officiating has been on these guys when it comes to making sure that lineman does not exceed the 3 yards down the field that they give them.
Isn't it like 1 yard? Can't they not even be 1 yard?
It might be 1 yard.
It's
3 yards actually seems like a lot now that I say it out loud.
And the one in the Giants game that was actually critical because the next play Jalen Hurts had that terrible pass. Like, he was just standing there. He wasn't even engaged with anybody. He just happened to be too far downfield.
I mean, listen, if you come off of your guy that you're originally supposed to be blocking, your goal is to find someone else to hit. And how many other people at that point of the play are going to be, you're not going to turn your back and run backwards for the most part. You're going to run lateral or you're going to run upfield. And that's when they get you. And they have got you this season. This rule has to change. I know.
Yeah.
If I'm the Eagles, that is the one thing I'm sending to the league.
And Lurie is usually very active in the rule dispute and everything in the off seasons. He was one of the people that were paramount in getting the third helmet.
We got the Kelly Greens because of
and getting the Kelly Greens. Going to debut him next season. I would imagine you'll see him maybe just 2 games the first year, but I would imagine they're going to get into a pretty heavy rotation of using those uniforms. Doesn't really matter.
Well, for next season, that needs to be one of the key things that they try to address as far as league rules, because it doesn't make sense.
No.
I mean, nobody's concerned that the offensive lineman is going out to get a pass.
No.
Right? I mean, if they extend it an extra yard, are they going to really be able to trick people, calling a tackle an ineligible receive or I just don't see how that rule improves the game as it's being called currently.
It doesn't,
because it's almost never pertinent to the play.
No, it rarely is.
It just hurts the offensive drives.
Yeah, it's more of if all the offensive linemen went and attacked him head on like they are run blocking, that's an advantage to the offensive line and to the pass blocking and everything, and then it gives the quarterback way too much room. I don't know. I'm making all that up.
You wouldn't want to give them way too much room.
No, I'm making all that up.
No, it's so that they don't sneak a tackle downfield and they're an eligible receiver and they end up catching a couple passes because nobody was blocking them.
Hey, why not? Big man touchdown.
But you can move that marker back an extra 2 yards.
Yes.
Without the cascade of guards going out to catch passes happening in the league.
Yes. Over under Miles Sanders rushing attempts 15. I'll go 14.5.
14.5. Okay. This is a good one. And again, if I had my way, it's going to be way over. Right. I want them to have 25 carries.
Yeah.
Last time we saw them play the Giants, though, we saw a pretty helping of Boston Scott.
Again, week 18.
Right.
He's a giant killer.
Right. Well, I mean, how many carries? I mean, that could be a nice over under. And within the next couple minutes, how many carries do you think Boston Scott gets?
What's the over under?
Coming up next.
Hey-o.
No, I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over. I think it's the playoffs. You give the ball to your bell cow, your stud back.
Yeah,
You're
I'm gonna
clearly
go
your
over as well.
best running back. It's probably not a whole lot more than 14 and a half. I mean, he probably doesn't clear 18 carries for the day, but I do think he goes just over 14 and a half.
Yeah. I'll take the over as well. And I still think Boston Scott will have over 5 carries.
Okay. So
Give me
over
5 and
under,
a half. I'll take 6.
Okay. So my over under was going to be 7 and a half. I think he gets to 8 carries.
That's a good number. It's a good number. I'm gonna probably take the under and like at 7.
Okay.
I know I just said 6, but I'll go 7.
All right. So
I
we're
think they're
going
being
under.
very productive.
He's going to get a scamper in the red zone for
over under 1.5 receptions for Boston Scott.
I'm going to go under.
Yeah.
There hasn't
When he
really
gets
been
2
anything
passes.
for me to believe that the third string running back is going to catch any balls.
Fair.
This team just really hasn't thrown to their
Yeah.
to their running backs at all season. Over under 6.5 called run plays for Jalen Hurts. That's pretty aggressive.
Do you count a quarterback sneak?
Yes.
All right, give me the over.
Over.
You can do 3 quarterback sneaks and 4, at least 4 design runs.
Yeah, I think that's going to be.
You see the league bitching about the Eagles and their quarterback sneak.
I couldn't even
The
tell if that
quarterback
was real.
bobsled.
I couldn't even tell if that was coming from a legit source or not.
I believe it is, but they're all complaining because the league very loosely wrote the rules on like saying, hey, you can push a player, but you can't pull him. They're like, oh, but we can push him. All right, 10 players get behind Jalen Hurts.
I haven't. I mean,
they haven't called it all. Giants coach said, "Yeah, you got 1 man on each cheek and a guy pushing up the middle." I'm like, "Hey, wait, pause.
Whoa,
pause,
right down the lane.
Spread those cheeks and push." But
I think this is I think this is going to look very similar to like a quintessential Eagles game plan throughout the first half of the season. I see, it's not going to be super cold like in Chicago where the ground was unforgiving and it seemed like Jalen just wasn't able to take some of these hits lightly. So I think
he also ran 17 times that game.
He was a sitting duck out there. He just really wasn't, able to deflect the tackles to take a nice little hit so much as we had seen in games before. And
getting crunched.
Right. So I think he'll be back to his old ways, being able to deflect tackles or
17 rushing attempts that game.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Over under.
I'd love Miles Sanders to get 17 rushing attempts.
Right.
Miles Sanders had 11 that game.
That can't happen.
No,
that can't happen.
You can't even flip it. I can't even have it 11 and 17. Of
There's
those 28 rushing attempts, I need it to be 18 and 10 at the
worst.
There's
a case for 11 and 17, but not that game when he was getting crushed and it was cold as hell and he's talking about not being able to feel his hands.
They kept doing it. I will stand by. That was one of the worst game plans of the season.
I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah,
I have no interest.
Win's great, but that injury was so avoidable, and we could have been 15-2, 16-1.
Over under 34.5 rushing yards for Daniel Jones.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Obviously, we're both not thinking he's going to be taking over the game with his feet.
No.
They might try it, though.
34.5. You know what? Eagles playoffs. Let's take the under.
Let's go.
Birds.
Shut him down.
Shut him down. Taking a shot while he's at it.
Over under the most catches by a Giants receiver totaling 6.5 catches.
Oh, that's gonna be the under.
So no Giants have 7 catches.
Yeah, no Giant will have 7 receptions.
I don't think so either.
No, and look, I'm not saying, and we'll get into score prediction shortly. I'm not saying it's going to be a week 14, 48-22 blowout. But I think the Eagles are going to handle business.
Over under 0.5 interceptions for this Eagles defense.
It better be over. It really has to be.
That's not the question, Jakey boy.
All right, over. And it's going to be somebody you don't even expect. It's going to be
Josiah Scott.
No, it's not even be a guy on the secondary. It's gonna be like TJ Edwards' first interception
Fletcher
of the
Cox.
season. Fletcher Cox.
Yeah.
It's a little pick six. No. But it's gonna be somebody not even in the secondary.
Linval Joseph just catches.
Why are you
jumps
making the
up.
biggest boys out there?
Yeah. Watch them rumbling down the field with that ball. Let's
Oh,
go.
boy.
This is the moment they've been waiting for.
Oh man. Over under 4.5 sacks for this Eagles defense.
So that's a good one. Because
I tried to.
despite all of their offensive shortcomings, this team has consistently gotten into the backfield of opposing offenses. I see very little reason to assume that this Giants offensive line is going to hold them to anything less than 5 sacks. So I'm going to go over.
Give me the over as well.
And I got
two for Reddick.
I got one for Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
I think this is the week he finally gets on the stat sheet.
All right.
Outside of
he was buzzing. He was buzzing week 18 a little bit.
He's got the moves. He looks quick.
Hey, like we said, he's the Ryan Kerrigan of this postseason defensive line.
He just needed a couple weeks off, guys.
Yeah.
He's got fresh legs now.
All right. Score prediction.
Score
prediction.
This one's going to be a close one, like all the other games this week. By close, probably a 1-score game. I'm going 28-21 Eagles.
Wow, mine's very close to that. 27-21 Birds.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I got 27-21 Birds.
Like it.
Birds, baby.
Birds, baby.
Final thought.
Final thought. Welcome back, Jalen Hurts.
Welcome back, baby. Final thought. Get loco at the link.